Hello and welcome to the Sunday News. I'm Belgrath97. This is...
Grumpy because it's morning.
Grumpy because it's morning.
Yep.
That's what we're going with. I'm calling Grumpy. I'll show you now.
We'll go with Grumpy.
Yeah.
Second class latest, and as anybody knows, you should never, ever, 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 ever try to make a writer do anything in the morning. So, fun times!
Alright.
Everybody but this guy.
I like poking bears.
And for some reason, you're always surprised when the bear attacks. I'm just saying.
Because it's always a fun game. It's always, when's it going to be? Is it this time? Is it this time? I'm just going to say pretty soon he's going to attack me and that'll be the end of the show.
Good ratings.
It will get us ratings.
Stab you to death with a piece of terrain.
You go to jail and our ratings go through the roof.
Yeah. Mostly because the flamer template's too far away.
You feel like you can reach it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that's the terrain it is. Yeah. I'm going to stab to death with a piece of terrain. I'm just saying, if you guys see any stories from out of Philadelphia, man stabbed to death with gaming toy.
Hey, look. Impudent Mortal profile poster.
Ah! Exactly. Alright, moving on. So, we have a few topics to talk about this Sunday.
Yep.
We do apologize for not being around last Sunday. It's all my fault.
I wouldn't go that far. I'd say it's just mostly his fault, but we can keep moving.
Alright. So, this week we're going to talk about some things that happened over the last 2 weeks. First off, with Warlord Games.
Mm-hmm.
They released 2 documents for rules. One for Project Z.
Yep.
These are playtest rules for their zombie game.
Mm-hmm.
They have a pre-order which ends in a couple days, so if you're interested, make sure you get in on it. But the playtest rules are available for you to download, to look at, to play through.
Right.
And it looks like fully playable rules to be able to play the game. And most of us have zombies are flying around somewhere, right? So we could play the game even if we don't have the official models, just to see if we like it. So that's number 1, which was an interesting feed because it feeds into number 2. The Terminator Genesis rules were put up.
Right.
And this was a little more interesting for us because when we looked at it, this is the official rules, but you can't play the game with it.
Because there's not the rules for Terminators or most of the weapons.
None of the units, none of the weapons. Like you get the example that like they use to explain how to read the rules, and that's it. Like it's a rule book that doesn't have everything else you need in it to play the game. So while you can look at the rules to see if you like it, you have no idea if the stats are or anything like that.
Right.
So you can't make any determinations as to factions you'd like to play or anything like that. And they made them for free, which is an interesting point. Both cases they're free. Because we were just talking on our last Sunday news about how Warlord Games was charging full price for PDF for Gates of Antari's rulebook. So this is interesting. When the rules for the entire game was there, they charge you full price, but when the rules aren't for the little game, they give you free. And it's kind of...
well, there's some logic to that.
There is some logic to that. I mean, it definitely makes sense. It's just one of those things where you're like, alright, so... But why not put the rules in to the Genesis so that we could play the game and charge us for it? Like, I don't know. I just look at that and I go, it's a great download, and I've read through it and still have no idea if I want to play the game.
I don't know that it did what they wanted it to do because they talk about mechanics.
Right.
But you don't get a chance to see the mechanics in operation because you don't know what numbers to plug into the mechanics.
Exactly. You can't tell. All you can tell is the example they give you. Oh, okay, so that's how it works. But I have no idea what I want to do with your models now.
Right.
So it's an interesting... I think it's an interesting experiment that's not going to do well for them, personally.
Everybody's still experimenting with exactly what PDFs are going to mean to the gaming industry. So
True.
Nobody has found the perfect system for that yet.
Yes. All right, so that's Warlord Games thing. And, well, first off, good on them for putting the rules up so at least we can look at them. I'm not going to take that away from them. I'm just not sure how it's going to work out for them. All right. Iron Age has a free model.
Yes. Every month.
Every month. And this month, it's, well, I'm going to butcher this. Padrago Miligu?
Not even close, but that's fine.
Can you tell them? Because I don't know what it
Not
looks
this early in the morning.
I was like, I have no idea what that word is.
Gaelic does not start until noon.
Yeah. It is a leprechaun.
It also doesn't help that you didn't write it correctly. So, no, there's...
No way.
You wrote down exactly the way you pronounced it, which is wrong. So there's no way for me to tell you what it's supposed to be.
Okay. I don't know. That's how I thought it was spelled. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's a Leprechaun. It's 15 millimeter Leprechaun, which is kind of interesting because a Leprechaun can 15 millimeters. You can play it in 15
Works
millimeter
for anything.
game. You can put it in 28 millimeter game, and it's a small Leprechaun. Like it works for everything.
Put it in a 32 millimeter game, and it's a Muppet. Like this just
Right.
works.
Yeah. It literally is a model that anyone could get, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, yay Muppet Leprechauns. I think that's what we got.
Put it in a 6 or 10 millimeter game, and now it's a giant.
Right.
Works in all scales. Weird.
It is kind of weird. Speaking of, like you couldn't have timed that any better. So, the Weird Monday preview. This was an interesting topic because it's not any models in the preview. It's the event kit. It's the 32-player event kit, so it's the largest of their event kits.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it was an interesting look. It was cool to see what you can win in tournaments and what you can get at tournaments, but I don't know. I gotta be honest with you, part of me kind of felt like it was a little bit of a cop-out.
Why is that?
Because you didn't show us anything new, really. Like
I wouldn't expect it to be new in product support.
Right, but that's the thing. Why show product support? That's my point. Like, showing product support to me was the cop-out.
You show product support to show that you are trying to support stores and your local gaming stores and your local clubs and trying to make sure that they get event attendance.
Absolutely.
And to be fair, it's something that Weird has been hit or miss with in the past.
Sure.
Compared to a few other gaming companies.
Okay.
So you show it to show that this year, now that we're getting into the tournament cycle,
Sure.
they are serious about supporting local gaming stores and clubs having tournaments.
I don't disagree with any of those statements. Why are you making it my Monday preview? You could have just made it an article unto itself to do all of that. The cop-out to me is that you made it the Monday preview, which is designed to preview models.
Not necessarily. They've also previewed stuff for the RPG.
Yeah.
They've also previewed stuff for Through the Breach.
Yeah,
The Monday preview
But I
is
don't
here's
care about
something
any
you
of that
haven't
stuff.
seen before. This is something we haven't seen before. The fact that you don't care about it makes it no different than the other stuff you didn't care about that they put in a Monday preview.
I didn't like it then either.
But the fact that you acknowledge that those have been Monday previews means you acknowledge the Monday preview isn't necessarily models
but
isn't necessarily models for the regular game.
Fair. I will caveat that and say every other Monday preview has something to do with the game itself, not something that is ancillary to the game, which is tournaments.
So you're saying that playing the RPG is directly related to
It's to one of their
gameplay.
games, yes.
You're saying that playing the board game is directly related to
It's
gameplay.
directly related to one of their games that they sell.
Okay,
Yes.
when you go to tournaments, what do you do? Oh, you play games. It's just as directly related.
I disagree.
Okay, then we're going to disagree.
We're going to disagree on that one. But anyway,
I think it was great. I think that companies coming out, supporting LGSs, supporting tournament organizers is a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's an awesome thing. It needs to happen much more.
Absolutely.
And giving it a showcase like the Monday preview to say, guess what, guys, this stuff's important is a good thing.
Okay.
So I'm glad it was there.
All right.
All right.
For the record, I don't want to be on the opposite side of supporting LGSs. I think we should support
Right?
LGSs too.
It's like, this is your thing. That's why I can't do this.
It's literally just, I don't know that I would have put it in the Monday preview. I would have made it its own feature. That's all I'm saying.
So a one-shot feature.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of antithesis of the definition of a feature?
No, it's a featured news article. I put it on the front of my page and I leave it there for a month rather than 1 week.
So you're not going to put up any Monday previews for the next month, so that it can stay
No,
at the
I'm
top?
not going to put it in the Monday preview. That's my point. I'll put it up as a feature, keep it on the front page of my website for a month to a month and a half. So I still do Monday previews.
So that none of the Monday previews make it to the top of the page.
It's already not on the top of the page. If you go onto the page, you have to scroll over one to get to it. It's already off the side of the page.
Right.
See? Proving my point.
Which just proves that if they had done it as a feature, it would have been off even freaking faster.
Not if I keep it in the prime spot of number one.
So now you want them to change the way that they profile their webpage just to support the fact that they made a tournament pack.
Yeah.
Move on.
Okay. He's grumpy.
Did I not warn?
You did warn. All right, so we're actually a little late to this particular piece of news because somehow we missed it, even though we were in the damn group. Sumerian Ashes has changed its name to Samaria Reborn.
Yeah, how did we miss a fight? I am so
I
upset that
know!
there was a fight and I
We
missed it.
missed it. So Samaria Ashes,
Like, there's
and
a chance to throw down here and totally miss
And
it.
I don't want to take away from the guy who currently apparently rebuilt Sumerian Ashes. So there is a Sumerian Ashes public group again.
Right.
But a lot of the people who were in the old Sumerian Ashes group are now in a private group called Samaria Reborn. If you want to get in on that group, you have to go and go Samaria Reborn and hit apply and hopefully get approved.
Right.
But one of the things that they're doing in there, which I think is really, really cool.
A huge fan.
Yes,
Huge fan.
He is a huge fan. He was
Fan,
actually
fan,
really
fan,
upset when we did our campaign. People didn't do more of this anyway.
Right.
They're doing a build mission counters contest every week. You put together mission counters, and I guess you have to paint them up and get them done by the end of the week.
You only have to assemble them during the week.
So you get them assembled.
So you have to start. They declare a mission.
Okay.
And they give you all the keywords so that you know how to build them.
Right.
And then you show your raw materials
Okay.
unassembled, and then you show your finished assembled product.
Okay.
And then people will vote on which one looks most typifies that specific mission.
There you go. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
great stuff.
It's great stuff, and it's awesome. And look, you don't have to paint. Man, I should do this one.
Right?
But it is
You
something.
and Merrick, this is like right up your alley.
this is
Wait,
right.
build stuff and then forget about it? Perfect.
Right. But no, in all honesty, this is actually a really cool contest because part of Dark Age is these mission counters, and they should be somewhat representative. And it looks so much better when you go to an event and the mission counters aren't just, oh, here's a desk, with a thing stuck on top of it.
Yeah, here's a flat disc on the table, which for some reason you
Lots
can't
on
see
site.
over. Right.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of reasons why building these things to and then you can theme them to match your army, which is awesome.
Yeah. Everybody should have 3 themed counters. Actually, my preference is everyone should have 6 themed counters, 3 flat, 3 blocking line of sight.
Sure.
And just keep them in your figure case and you're done.
Yep. I don't disagree with him.
This time.
This time. I disagreed with him last time. All right. So, the guys who came out with the flying hoagie, remember you guys, if you go back in the Wayback Machine, you'll find a video of Merrick going, it's the size of a hoagie.
Yeah.
Yes. ACP Games.
ACP Games.
They have come out with a box set.
Yes.
To go along with, and a rule book to go along with their game, which is called Valkyrie.
Yes.
So the Flying Hoagie has rules and a game to play now.
Yep.
Some
And
people
a whole
are
bunch of
saying-
other models. I mean, he's got a whole.
He actually has a real
line.
nice set. It was actually really cool. We did go to his website to see about finding, said rules, and his website needs a little updating, and we've kind of told him about that.
He's been in the middle of a tournament circuit.
Convention
circuit.
But it's definitely worth looking at. It's definitely worth looking into. When we saw the box sets on Facebook when he was at a con, had it all set up. It was very cool looking, and it's a flying hoagie-sized drop ship. I mean, these things are huge and they're awesome.
Hopefully, I might even have one built soon. I'm waiting because I have a airbrush that I'm waiting to come in to replace my old one, and I want to paint it mid-assembly because there's some spots I'm not going to be able to do any other way.
That's fair.
Which is why I don't have it together yet.
Fair.
But
And if you have seen this thing, like the interiors are completely designed. Like once you build the thing, getting in there to paint it would be impossible.
impossible.
So.
Also, interesting thing about the rule book that ACP Games put out, it's not hardbound, or like it's not.
Yeah,
it's not traditionally bound.
Oh, we don't have one of our ones to show, but it's basically like a spiral bound book, which we thought was an interesting idea to take for a rule book. I will tell you, I know for a fact it's going to cut down on production costs of the books.
Yes, a lot,
A lot.
which was smart.
Right. So it's really cool, but it was just, well,
It is exactly.
there goes the second class Elites. And here comes back.
Bound like that.
Yes. But it is in fact bound like this. This is our Dark Age printed book that we put together ourselves so that we can have more books lying around.
From the PDF.
From the PDFs that are online, which are for free. And we happen to know somebody who works at a print shop. So he got this taken care of. But you see how it's bound on the side here like this with the round? That's how the Valkyrie book is, which I thought was an interesting idea. Like I said, cuts down on costs. I'm interested to see how people receive
It
it.
also cuts down on wear and tear on the book.
Yeah, because that type of binding doesn't break down.
Because if you hand me the thing,
I will hand
I
you
can
the
take
thing.
this book and I can lay this on the table, open to a page like that. And if I'm laying it on something, it's not back-breaking
Yes.
the binding. I also don't have to control the binding while I'm flipping through pages to find things.
Yeah.
I can literally do this,
Yep.
and it's not going to hurt the book at all.
Absolutely.
Also, the pages, believe it or not, this type of binding is more resistant to page shearing
Oh, really?
than traditional
I
binding.
did not know that.
Because if your glue starts to break down at all due to age or bending,
I have books that have pages
shear,
that are coming
pages
out.
will shear. Right. With this, that never happens.
Okay.
So there's a lot of reasons why this is actually superior to traditional binding
Okay.
for gameplay purposes.
But I gotta tell you, I'm interested.
But people think it looks cheaper.
And here's the thing. I'm going to reach it out. You know, anyone in the audience who wants to comment on this, like, what do you think about the idea of books being bound that way as opposed to the traditional, you know, hardbound books? And what do you think? Do you agree with Second Class Elitist that it does make for a better quality book overall for actual gameplay use?
Or do you prefer traditional glue binding?
Because you like the way it looks. I mean, there's a part of me that I buy hardbound books even when I can get PDFs of stuff just so I can put the hardbound book on a shelf.
Yeah.
You know, because I like the
you
book.
want to see it on the shelf.
I want to see it on the shelf.
Yeah.
This doesn't have that aesthetic for me.
Right.
So,
And that really is kind of the traditional transitional
right.
position, I think, between traditional binding
Mhm.
and a PDF.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's
Something like that. Yeah. And I gotta tell you, to do these individually by yourself is not terribly cheap.
Right.
Like when you print a PDF to get one of these bound up, it's not ridiculously expensive, but it's not cheap either. So, but doing them in a mass run, I imagine cuts down on the cost much more so than the hardbound books.
I would hope so.
The only thing we don't know is we don't know how much he's charging for the rule book.
Yeah.
So, I'm interested to see that as well. But please comment down below. We'd like to see what your thoughts are on a book bound like that.
Yeah, and honestly, this is good research because there's a lot of independent companies
Mhm.
that are doing game books now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you guys, if you've never looked into printing costs, please don't because they'll terrify you. The physical cost of the book, especially when you're doing limited runs,
Mm-hmm.
is ridiculous. And on top of that, the shipping cost of the book is ridiculous. And this literally cuts down on both.
Yep.
The book weighs less, so thus the shipping will be lower,
Mhm.
and it's maybe a third of the printing cost.
Yes.
So, I mean, if this is something that gamers are willing to accept, this is not a bad direction to go.
Especially for independent gamers.
I mean, you make, you release PDFs because you should still freaking release your PDFs. You make your regular tabletop use version
Mhm.
like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then you make your collector's edition,
Yeah.
the one that's traditionally bound.
I'm in for that.
And now you have a PDF, which is a lower cost,
Mm-hmm. Mid-range
the
cost.
mid-range book, which is a reasonable cost.
Right.
And now, because you have those two options, you actually can charge for the hardbound book at a level where you can freaking make some money on it.
Right.
Because most of the time, guys, I'm telling you,
The books they make very.
when you're like, oh my god, $30 for this, $50 for this, guess what? For them to be able to put it on the shelf, it needs to cost. They have to figure out a price where they're only keeping 1/3 of that price, because that's what you get when you work through a distributor.
Mhm.
So if I'm selling to your store
Mhm.
through that distributor,
Yeah.
and it's $30 on your shelf,
Mm-hmm.
you got it from him from 20, he got it from me for 10,
And it
and it cost me
$8.
$850 to $975
To get
to
it
print
printed.
that book. I'm making nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yep. And that's the part that no one ever pays attention
Yeah, when you can make more on a $6 blister
Yep.
than you can
On
on a
the book.
$60 rule book, your costs are out of line.
Yeah. And that is one of the downsides. We've looked into printing costs numerous times for ourselves and for other things and
Yeah.
for other companies, and it's just not cheap.
They're not
guys.
good.
No. All right. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about how Dark Age released their tournament pack.
Yes.
And we talked about how we thought it was a really interesting idea with this sidebar.
Yep.
Okay. And for those of
And
you who aren't-
the problems that have come up since.
all right, so just a quick review. You write your normal point list at 150 points less than whatever the tournament setting is. So if you're doing a 500-point tournament, you would write a 350-point core list. And then you bring 250-point options.
Not true. You make a 500-point list, and then you have a 150-point list that you can swap in by taking things out.
Okay.
It doesn't have to. You don't have to keep the same 350 all the time.
Oh, I thought you did.
No.
Oh. Okay.
No, you just pull pieces out.
I apologize. Anyway, the question that has come up, and it's actually an interesting, really interesting conversation for certain factions that have multiple sub-factions, like Forsaken, for example. Let me use that as the best example.
Because it is the prime example of this.
I write 350 of my first 500 point list is completely generic models, could be used by any faction. Then the other 150 are faction specific. And then I write a different 150 faction specific to be my sidebar.
Mm-hmm.
Can I change sub-factions mid-game, mid-tournament?
Apparently, because you never actually declare your sub-factions, you declare a faction, and if all of your models fit a sub-faction, you get this special ability.
Right. It's a really, 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 really fun idea.
Yep. And that's where you were thinking of it, because we had talked about the cartridges.
And that's where I got confused. But yeah.
But you don't have to, and I'm going to bring in this point.
Okay.
Let's say I build here's another one. Let's say I build my 500 point list.
Mm-hmm.
And I build, let's say, 175 points of, dedicated range, and 175 points of dedicated shooting, and 150 points of I may or may not split out a sub-faction.
Okay.
Well, if I need to pull in that 150, but for whatever reason, be it the scenario, your army list, or both, I feel there's no advantage to me having any kind of ranged attack in this scenario at all, can I voluntarily play 25 points down?
I will say the only answer that I've seen as an official answer on any questions regarding this is that Mr. Sonal said that your final list has to be a valid pointed list at deployment.
Yes. And it is valid for me to bring a 475 point
Yes.
list to a 500 point
So
game.
if I were a tournament organizer, I would say yeah.
And that seems to be the way people are going with
Yeah.
it. But again, it's just one of those weird situations of, I can look at a list and, again, we're talking about the misdirection of the sidebar.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're looking at my list and, you see drill fingers there,
Mm-hmm.
or the abomination. Let's say you say
The Nightmare Abomination.
Yeah, the Nightmare Abomination, drill fingers. Let's say you see any other 150, 175 point, even a 200 point model.
Uh-huh.
You are immediately going to assume that I'm bringing that sucker if I put him in my list.
Yep.
And you are immediately going to try to game plan for him.
Yep.
And I pull him out.
Yep.
And put in 150 points of something else.
Yep. 150 points of shooting. What? Where did that come from? Not that there's shooting.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little bit of shooting in
There
this
is.
card. But yeah, I gotta tell you, as a list build, so list building is kind of my favorite part of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
This idea in tournament play has got me really excited. Once everyone kind of figures out all of the ins and outs of it, of how we're going to let it play out.
I think the feint and riposte of having the sidebar.
So regard to that.
Yeah, again, it's and I have the advantage because I started playing in fantasy back when your fantasy lists actually had sidebars.
Right.
So I've done this at tournament levels before. And let me
I've
tell
never
you,
played those kind of games.
let me tell you, it does change how you go into the
Sure,
game.
absolutely.
Like, even from before turn one. I mean, right now you go to a tournament, and if you know how to play your game, you're going to look at your opponent's list. You're going to pretty much know how he's most likely to set it up, and you're going to have a good idea of X on Y to be able to win. And then you're going to go to the table with that in mind. And your really good tournament players win before dice are even thrown. It's a lot harder to do that with sidebars because I don't get to do it until the moment we're setting up.
And you don't get to know what my sidebars are.
Right.
That's the key. That's the whole thing. It's like all I have to show you is the core part of my list, and you don't get to know the sidebars.
Which I think there's a problem with that because also at any point I can ask to verify your list because I can always ask to verify your cards.
Yeah, but at that point we're already deployed. You've already made the decision as to what you're bringing.
I've made decisions as to what I'm bringing, but there's not really a secret to what your models can do, because as soon as I see you get ready to deploy it before we have deployed, because at any point includes before deployment, I can say, hey, let me look at the card for that. I'm still going to know what your cards are. I'm still going to know what they do.
But you don't know what I'm bringing until deployment.
Right.
Right, yeah. You can know what my full, 900 points is I have sitting in front of me.
Right.
And you can look at any of it. But you have no idea which part of that is coming to the table until we deploy.
Exactly.
That's the case.
So really, it's going to be some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. All right, and then our friends over at Bombshell have two things going on.
Yay!
Yes. The first is their March Madness sale. It is 15% off anything wearing a hat, because it's the Mad Hatter sale. And pretty much wearing a hat includes bubble helmets. Like
Yep.
anything that's, if it's got something over its
And
head.
diving helmets.
And diving helmets. Anything that could go over the head counts.
Yes.
It's 15% off.
It's such a cute idea
I
for
love
a
it.
sale.
You know what? I gotta tell you, Bombshell has always, they've done a number of sales at this point where I'm just like, that's so interesting.
Yeah,
There's not just a traditional, all right, 15% off Counterblast or 15% off of these guys. No, there's always some unique theme to. So I love that they do that.
Yeah. The Keiths are really good at keeping the game creative and
Mhm.
interesting, and that goes all the way down to their sales.
Yep.
Really good stuff. Always a pleasure,
Yeah.
and it's always fun to see something from them come up in my feed, because you never know exactly what it's
What
going to
it's
be,
gonna
but you're going to like it.
Yep. And it's something that I know you really liked that showed up in your feed from Bombshell.
Oh yes.
So we have some playtest rules for Counterblast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Counterblast DLX.
Okay. So tell me what's going on.
All right. So basically, it is a tweaking of the existing rule set. It's not a
Okay.
complete revamp. It's not
Okay.
a second edition.
Okay.
But it is taking some things that players have had questions about,
Mm-hmm.
taking some things that players have gone, it would be neat if,
Mm-hmm.
and also taking the character generation rules that we had talked about
Mm-hmm.
and putting them into a document to test along with a more streamlined turn mechanic.
Okay.
So it's basically we think these 4 or 5 things all work individually. However, this is going to be the first time we're trying to throw them all together. Let's see what happens. One of the things that I think is great is the character design
Okay.
mechanism. You can now make your own heroes.
Cool.
So you can do that really designed force.
Okay.
You can theme to the models, and there's so many more opportunities
Okay.
that way. The gameplay cards are being redesigned to make them a little bit more streamlined and easier to read.
Gotcha.
Apparently, when the new rulebook comes out, it is not going to be the digest-sized version. It's going to be full 8x11, which
Okay.
I honestly think is a little unfortunate. I'm going to stick with this one. I'm going to stay with Vicky Keith and say that I like the idea of it being a dime novel size,
Mhm.
because it was written to be the same size as the retro sci-fi pulp digests of the era that the game is supposed to be played in. So it made sense.
Are they changing it because they feel it hurt sales?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not surprised that they feel it hurts.
They're changing it because a number of their players told them it hurt sales. They're like, I got the book because I had to, but I didn't feel it was worthwhile because of the size. And I'm like, or you're going to use the PDF version on,
one of these, which is about the
which
same
is the
size.
same size as the thing you're saying isn't the right size to be of value.
Now, I have the original book because I'm a book collector in
Right.
general, but I'm not going to say that I get where it's dime size and I get the whole, and I appreciate
Right.
it. But a full-size book, I'm not going to say I'm not going to appreciate that too.
Exactly, and I think I think it's the right call,
Uh-huh.
even though I disagree with it.
Gotcha.
Because the majority of your gaming audience aren't people that read 40s through 70s, pulp.
They're not necessarily getting it.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a subscription to Asimov. I had a subscription to Astounding Science Fiction. So I got that book and I was like, oh, look, Astounding Science Fiction, great.
Right.
So for me, it was that nostalgia that the game is supposed to incorporate
Mhm.
in the rulebook. And I love anytime
Mhm.
people bring mode
Mm-hmm.
into form.
Which is why I did like the book.
Right.
I mean, I got it.
Right.
I got what it was
But
about.
I totally agree that 9 out of 10 gamers
Did.
were like,
Why is the book so small?
Why does this look like Reader's Digest? Like, because it's the only thing they knew that's that size.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that. And they didn't have someone, you know, in their gaming group who got it and was able to explain it to them.
Yeah.
They
They didn't have someone in their gaming book that literally was able to pull out a copy of Asimov and go, look at this, isn't this cool?
Because I'm not going to lie, when I got the book, first thing I said, and he saw me looking at it, and he goes, it's the right size. I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't get it either. I get it now, and I really appreciate it once I got it. But I didn't get it at first.
But most people aren't going to.
Right.
And again, I get it, it's fine.
So,
I'd almost like to see, talk about weird backspin.
sure.
Put out, you know, here's my pitch. Put out full-size 8x11 regular rule book, okay? In color. Make your collector's edition digest-sized black and white. And just flip the whole thing. You buy it, right?
I buy it. I'd buy it in a heartbeat.
Because then you could use like all the classic fonts
Uh-huh.
rather than, you know, Arial Courier Times New Roman, which is what everyone uses for modern text. You could use some of the more classic fonts that are used in those.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could completely game change it.
It'll make it look
to make
more
it
appropriate.
To make it unique and more retro.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's but that's your niche audience. That's what the collector's book should be for.
And that is who the collector's book should be for.
Welcome to Philly, ladies and gentlemen.
I was like, all of a sudden I'm like, wait, the floor's shaking. Like, what's going on here?
That means it's 11:15.
It is actually after that.
Oh, really? Okay.
It is after that.
Okay.
However, that's so. Where do we go to get the playtest rules?
They are available on the Bombshell Miniatures Facebook page. They are also available in the website. I believe you need to go to the Bombshell blog on the Bombshell website, and the link will be there. It may also be an actual button on the page at this point. I'm not sure. I haven't checked.
Okay. But at the very least, you can find it on the Bombshell Facebook page. And if you're not a member of the Bombshell Facebook page and you want to get part of this, you should be. So I'm just saying.
You should, because amazing models get shown on there.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of really good painted stuff from people as well.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, no, it's a good community. It's funny because I don't post a ton there, but I follow it.
You read it all the time.
I read it all the damn time.
If nothing else, just because every other week you're seeing something new painted for Mary Profit, and that's worth the price of admission.
That is true. All right, but that's our Sunday news.
Cool.
We made it through another week.
Yay!
Even with you being grumpy pants.
You're pretty much okay now.
Yeah, well, yeah, you've had a half hour of getting energy out.
Hey, by the way.
Hey, did you see this?
Look at this.
Like, there's actually stuff happening in our campaign over here.
There's a lot of stuff happening, with the exception of, like, these two areas right here, which are me. But aside from that, everybody else is winning games.
All right, so I'm just going to point out, you remember how I went through an entire campaign of Dark Age when I was running that campaign and couldn't win a game? Mm-hmm. Apparently the curse is if you're the tournament organizer, you can't win games.
Why can't I win a game in this
He hasn't won a game.
Oh.
He has not won a game.
All right, so historically, I never win the first round of a campaign game. In fact, 14 first round games in a row, I am now 0-14. Mm-hmm. So week 1, I'm just like, here's my models. You win. Because I know that that's what's going to happen. However, usually by week 5, I've freaking won more games than I've lost. And I got bupkis, nothing. 2 factions over here. Zip, zilch, nada.
Aren't you running a third faction?
Yeah.
Where are they at?
They've actually won a game.
Oh, they won a game.
They won a game.
They won a game. So I'm sorry, I apologize. He's won 1 game.
Yeah.
I'm apparently the lone games, shark of the campaign. He's played 15 games. I'm just going to point out that I'm the loan shark of the campaign. I'm over here in the corner, and I have loaned out money, and people owe me favors. It's kind of fun.
It's really good.
Yeah. But it's actually, the campaign's been kind of fun. Aside from this guy over here who's a jerk and needs to die.
He's winning. He's doing good.
No, he's a jerk and he needs to die.
Actually, Allie's over here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 5. Like, that needs to be stopped.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 5 for
Merrick.
So those two are going to have a reckoning.
For the record, I have a loss on my record that I literally just sold away.
Yeah. He took a dive.
I
That's
think,
great.
like this guy is. I'm looking at this like one of our players was literally about ready to be overrun by an alley over here, and I literally said, "If you need a win next week, I can be bought." I took a dive. It was
Yep.
fun.
But yeah, so my prediction is you're going to see a cold front coming up here from the south, and these areas here are all going to be taken over by Merrick. And you're going to see this blue streak here just continue down along the bottom half of the map here, and I'm going to get overrun by Alley. At which point, these two are pretty much just going to decide that we're done playing, and they're going to go this way. And that's going to be the end of the world right there.
So I pretty much basically I have to start worrying about Merrick. Is really the problem. And,
Yeah.
I don't think I can beat him.
Token Gamer Chick tried worrying about Merrick. She tried taking him on head to head and lost.
Badly. The man's got a heinous list over there.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
critical.
but campaign stuff's happening. We're having fun, but I think we are heading towards an end game because these two factions are literally just going to overrun the world.
Yeah, I think we got about 3 or 4 more weeks, and then it'll be obvious
That one of those two.
what's happening.
Honestly, right now it's going to come down to which one of these two or three. Because by the way, she's also got 5.
Yeah.
So Allie's got 2 groups with 5,
Right.
and we've got Merrick. One of these 3 groups is going to win this campaign. It's just a matter of which one of them is going to stumble first.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
Alright.
so that's all for This Is Not a Test, which is having a ridiculously successful Kickstarter
Oh
right
my
now.
lord! All right, this isn't our Kickstarter show, but guys, like they're
Look,
having really
First out of the gate, Kickstarter, 260 backers, $20,000
when they thought the
for a
max they were
pocket
gonna-
game. Awesome.
And when they thought the best they were going to do was 10.
Yeah. Their dream goal was 10. They're already at 20. They got 26 days to go. If you like post-apoc, if you like beer and pretzel games,
That's
if
what we're
you
looking
like
at.
throwing dice and having fun, please go check out I'm too tired. worldsendpublishing.com.
Yes.
Or Google This Is Not a Test. And you will see some great models. You will see a great PDF that you can buy, or you can go to the Kickstarter and get the PDF or the upcoming hard copy of the rulebook.
Actually, one of the Kickstarter's new things is that you can get all of their digital stuff in one pledge.
Yeah, nice
That's
digital
what's
pledge.
kind of cool. Yep. All right, so thank you very much for watching the Sunday News. If you liked what you saw here, please like, subscribe, send smoke signals. I'm almost giving up on the smoke signals at this point.
So, somebody made a comment. They said smoke signals are coming. So.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm gonna get excited again. Don't let me down. I want smoke signals. Just saying. But seriously, if you like what you saw here and you think you know somebody who would like to see it here, make sure you drag them along. Making sure you make them watch it so that they become a subscriber. More subscribers, more viewers, better for us because we like seeing people enjoy our stuff. We don't do this primarily just for ourselves. We do this because we're
And better for you
helping
because apparently he acts goofier. So.
I do get goofier the more excited I get.
So.
Fair warning. Just saying. All right, I'm Belgrath97. This is
Second class lead us.
There was no cameraman. We did this sans cameraman today.
Which is also why we didn't have any zooming or looking at looking at
'Cause-
stuff. Because
Yeah.
as it was, I had to cross across the camera anyway.
Yeah.
But nah.
All right,
It was
thank
worth
you very
it.
much for watching, and we will see you next week. Until next time, guys.